Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Be That 1% podcast. Today in the studio, live in Las Vegas, I have Michael Sheedy, who I've been following for a while now, and just more so recently been really engaged with a lot of his work, being that we have mutual connections. His passion and his mastery, dedication to the craft is something that I appreciate. And so for those of you who don't know who Michael is, get ready because he's going to come at you with some heat. He's an online fitness coach, personal trainer, and entrepreneur. He's competed in 12 bodybuilding competitions, which I'm going to ask him about. He's had one amateur boxing match, which I think is really, really cool. I love boxing. Would love to get into that a little bit. And then also has been featured in Train magazine. Aside from that, he's a heart-centered leader, and some of the people that I work with in my business also use him as a personal trainer and mentor. And so there's a lot of affinity here with just how we see the world, what we're about, and what we want to see more of in the world. So thank you for being on the show.
Awesome. What an introduction. Yeah, appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So on the show, for people to get to know you quick and in a hurry, we have a series of rapid fire questions. So
awesome.
Whatever's coming through. First question is, where were you born and raised?
Born and raised here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Been living here my whole life. It's such a great city to live in. I mean, I'm not sure how long you've lived here yourself.
Same.
Personally,
Born and raised.
But dude, amazing. And it's to see the growth of the city, and also just the energy that is here, I believe has also helped me tremendously as an entrepreneur, because I'm able to see, people doing so well, in their own personal endeavors, because we're so close to, celebrities and like all these people coming throughout the city. So I feel like that's always something that's really pushed me to be better as an entrepreneur. So I love where the city's headed and been living here my whole life. So
love that. What's a philosophy that you live by?
A philosophy that I live by. Interesting. That's a great question. I guess one would be attract, don't chase. Mm-hmm. That's very simple. I actually have it on a tattoo here on my arm. So I guess that's the easiest one to go by. But, what I mean by that is not necessarily manifestation, but more so attracting the circumstances you want through your actions, right? A lot of people, they talk about their goals or they think about their goals, but they're not putting the actions together with intent to be able to accomplish what they want. And
yes. Beautiful. I love
that's
that.
What that means to me.
What is a recent book that you've read that offered immense value for you?
Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great book. Yeah. It tells stories, and then it gives you kind of like a quick little lesson at the end of each chapter, which I love. And it's just reaffirming the things that are important. And I think it's always great to I think of course we have behaviors instilled in us working over time, but it's always great to get refreshers on the things that we need to continue to focus on. Mm-hmm. And
Have you read any other of his books?
Ryan Holiday's? No, that was actually the first Ryan Holiday book I've read. I've read a tremendous amount of nonfiction self-development. But
Stillness is the Key.
That's another one of his title. Is that? Do you like that
Ryan
one?
Holiday.
Yeah.
It was it talks all about presence.
Okay.
And like being still and being intentional, which
I love that.
And nowadays that's everything.
Yeah.
So I think you'd like that.
Awesome.
What is a piece of advice that you've gotten that has served you well?
A piece of advice that I've gotten that has served me well. Success loves speed. Yeah. And this is a great piece of advice because a lot of people are constantly over analyzing and under executing. And that's what I've seen. And for me personally, I felt like, I've been on this personal path of mine in my own, business and in personal life to be the best I can be. And what I've realized is a lot of the times we overcomplicate things, and it's just important to execute on things instead. Timing is really important.
Yeah, I like that. Success loves speed.
Mm-hmm.
What does the world need more of right now?
What does the world need more of right now? I would say compassion.
Yeah.
Compassion, ultimately, which leads to empathy. I was listening to, I listened to like podcasts, and I was listening to a podcast with Alex Hormozy in it, and he was talking about whenever he gets angry, right? And I don't necessarily get angry. I really do my best to work the muscle of I guess patience or just letting my emotions subside before I make any erratic decisions. However, he talked about when you're upset with another person or when you're angry with another person, the easiest way to overcome that emotion, because ultimately anger is a poison for yourself, not the other person you're mad at, is to have compassion and empathy for the position that they're in. And even if you don't like who they are, what they've done, it'll allow you to move forward in a positive way. And I think that's something that everyone can take as a lesson and use in their daily life.
That's cool. So I'm in the process of writing a book on communication, and they're like, 5 C's. One of the C's is compassion that I think we need more of in our world. So I would agree with you there.
Yeah, it helps.
And in researching compassion, I actually learned the difference between compassion and empathy. Mm-hmm. Empathy is your ability to understand or kind of connect with what someone is going through. Mm-hmm. Whereas compassion is not just the understanding, but the motivation to want to do something about it.
Right.
Which I think is so key.
Okay.
Because we can like sit here and listen to people's stories and like feel for them.
Right.
But then at the end of the day, what are we doing to support or challenge or, get them to move along?
Right.
Where the compassion piece really brings in the action with the emotion.
I like it.
Which is cool.
Which is like forgiveness, which would be a part of that action, right?
Yeah. So awesome. So how did you, let's go into the meat now.
Love it.
How did you get into fitness? What was like the catalyst for you?
Yeah. So I started working out when I was like 17 years old just to gain weight for playing football. I was super skinny. I was 160 pounds at, 6 feet tall. So I was thin and I was just getting blown up on the football field. And I was like, you know what? I got to do something about this. So I just started eating as much as I could to try to gain weight. And, probably wasn't doing it in the best way. I was eating like DiGiorno's pizzas every day. But I ended up putting on 25 pounds in like a year, like naturally. Wow. Probably puberty played a part in that. But yeah, that's where I kind of fell in love with then the results came and then people started noticing and you get through, affirmations and girls started noticing in high school and that reaffirmed like, wow, okay, this is something I should keep doing. And then from there, I just fell in love with the discipline side of it and kind of what it was doing for me in my life as far as like personal habits go.
Yeah. When people talk about mind-body connection, what does that mean to you?
Mind-body connection as far as in exercise, in exercise, like during a workout. Yeah. So I mean, one of the things like you talked about is like being present, right? Mm-hmm. Like I feel personally for me, the best way that I can be present is to connect with my muscles when I'm working out. So not only do I use the time in the gym as like meditation space, a form of meditation, because I'm very present. I try not to use my phone. I'm switching songs, but typically I just try to stay focused on the workout. When you're doing that too, effectively, when you're trying to connect with your muscle, you're going to engage the muscle more. You're going to contract more muscle tissue. You're going to be able to break down the muscle tissue or push more strength out of each exercise. So, I think that's, of course, if you're working out in any capacity, you should be doing your best to be present in the moment through mind to muscle connection, which is going to facilitate more results, whether it's trying to gain muscle, whether it's, losing body fat, whether it's gaining strength. All those things are important.
Is there a series of music that you like to listen to more than the other when exercising?
In regards to like the genre of music, I like
hip-hop, you like classical.
I really enjoy upbeat, like motivational music. So I'll do like EDM, I'll do hip hop, whatever's like upbeat. I can't do like R&B or like slow music. Like it has to like pump me up, and I get energy from the music I listen to typically.
Okay. Yeah, same. I've recently been listening to Viking music. I don't know if you've tried that.
No, it's like epic music. My
it's like 300-ish.
Some of that's, if it had some like EDM on it, I'd like it. My friend sent me a track like that. I was like, it's epic, but there's not enough like high hits in it.
I feel it. Okay. So you've been in the fitness game for a long time now, nearly a decade, or if not longer.
10 years,
10 years, yeah. Mm-hmm. What do most people get wrong right off the bat with fitness in general? Like if you look at the normal gen pop, right?
Okay, yeah.
What are they not seeing? What are they getting wrong? Where are the misconceptions?
What are they getting wrong? I would say a lot of people that are trying to change their body composition, not get ready for a marathon, not get ready for an endurance event. People who are trying to change their body composition run way too much. And that's something that is detrimental actually to your progress because it reduces your metabolic rate, both short-term and long-term. So running is great if you're trying to lose weight quickly. And this is something actually my client Maverick, he was running all the time because he would try to get ready for, a vacation. So he would just go on this like 5 or 6 week crash diet, eat a low calories and run. What would happen is he would end up losing weight, but he'd look almost softer in a way, because what it does is when you run, it pares down muscle tissue because it's primarily using the glycolytic system. So it's basically burning the stored glycogen from your muscles, sending an adaptation signal to reduce muscle size. So yeah, you're burning calories, but you're reducing your metabolism, because for every pound of muscle, you're burning an extra 60 calories a day. So you end up actually losing fat slower the more running you do. So what I always recommend to, and I just had a video on Instagram that went viral with this exact piece of advice I'm giving, is to do low intensity, steady state cardio on a daily basis if your goal is fat loss. I would say 90% of the people in the gym are trying to lose body fat. Not many people are trying to gain strength. I understand, powerlifting and things like that, but most people are trying to lose body fat. So if that's what you're trying to do, low intensity, steady state cardio, 20 to 30 minutes of fast paced walking or Stairmaster every day is something that you can not only sustain, but is also going to help you burn fat more efficiently and not burn through muscle, so you can keep your metabolism high.
With like other high intensity activities like boxing, does it have a similar effect to running? It has the
exact same effect. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you and I were talking about boxing.
Because I love boxing.
A little bit, yeah. And if done too frequently, like most of the time you will not, look at the people that are in the specific field at the highest level, right? Yeah. Most boxers are not extremely muscular unless they're a genetic freak, right?
Like a Floyd, let's say a Floyd Mayweather.
Or Wilder, right?
Yeah.
He is, somebody who you look at and he's very muscular, but most people that are at the highest level in boxing are not very muscular, because the activity takes your heart rate over, let's say 160 beats per minute for an extended period of time. And the goal is to fire your arms as fast as possible. So your body adapts to that by shrinking down muscle tissue, not only in the arms, and you'll see a lot of boxers have skinny arms, right? Yeah. But it also reduces, again, it uses more of the glycogen stored in the muscles. So you're going to shrink while you do it. So it's something that I enjoy boxing so much, but I only do it very periodically.
What is periodic? Like once a week?
Once to twice a week. Like if I'm like, really in it and I'm enjoying it, I'll do it twice a week.
Okay. For how long?
I'll do sessions of, 30 to 40 minutes max, right? Like I'll do mitts and mostly do mitt and bag work.
It's about 10 to 12 rounds.
Yeah. If you're wanting to do something like that, that's what I would recommend. If you want to do it more than twice a week, I would only do 20 minutes at a time. And I know it sounds funny, but that's how you're going to continue to see progress. Yeah. If the goal is not to be a boxer. Now, if the goal is to be a boxer, you got to box all the time. Yeah. And this is what I tell my clients. You have to eat and train for how you want to look and perform.
Yeah. Got it.
Right.
Good to know, because I love boxing, not just for like the actual art of it, but mentally.
Oh,
like,
it's amazing.
It keeps me so dialed in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's like the sharper I am on the mitts or on the bag. Correlate to everything else in my life.
How often are you boxing?
3 times to 4 maybe a week.
It's not bad. Like how long are you boxing for?
20 to 30 minutes.
So that's perfect. Yeah, it's not bad. As long as you're able to recover from it and still, if you're doing resistance training, as long as you're able to recover from the boxing. Most people try to do boxing or some sort of activity that's explosive like that with resistance training, which is why they get injured, because you're doing an exercise that's requiring explosive lengthening of the tissue, which is boxing, right? And then you're doing another exercise that is contraction and shortening of the tissue. So you have an antagonist, right? Those are antagonist forms of exercise. Yeah. So that's what ends up injuring people, because they're so short and so tight, and then they're asking their body to go do something that's lengthening. So you got to keep your mobility. You got to stay really, really tight on your mobility work. Yeah. And you got to understand the volume of each one.
When conducting a program for someone, how long do you have someone typically do that set program until you shift things or change them?
4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. Programming wise, in regards to your body's adaptation, our bodies are incredible at adapting.
I imagine.
They will adapt in any direction. If you sit on the couch all day, your body's going to adapt to that. If you run all day, your body's going to adapt to that, right? We are incredible vehicles that have survival mechanisms in place. That being said, 4 to 6 weeks is the amount of time that the central nervous system and the muscle skeletal system takes to adapt to an exercise programming before you should switch.
Got it.
Not every week. but every 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So for those of people who like that constant stimulation of new, probably aren't making the
not as many gains as they could be, right? And the goal is, I mean, the goal is efficiency. Now, listen, end of the day, we're kind of splitting hairs here, right?
Yeah.
If you want to go in the gym, working out and doing something different every time is better than never working out. But if you want the maximum, results, it's better to program yourself for every 4 to 6 weeks, and that's what I do for my clients.
Yeah.
Yep.
When researching, just through your experience, your certifications, what was shocking to you about lifting in general and what it does for your body, your mind, you name it? Was there anything that you're like, wow, like no wonder why I like it, but maybe I should keep doing this?
Yeah, I guess the benefits outside of course, aesthetically speaking, right?
Sure,
like that's
right.
very, very visible to see. But what are the other things that we don't know that it does without actually understanding the literature of exercise science? One would be bone density and how it increases bone density. So quick example, my mom hadn't worked out for like 30 years. She was 55 years old. She came to me. She wanted to get in good shape, and I put her on an exercise program. Before she got with me on her program, she had osteoporosis, so much so that one time when I hugged her, I cracked one of her ribs.
Whoa.
And I just gave her a hug and her rib cracked. And this is like a true story. And she was fine, right? But she had some pain, and she had to definitely go see a doctor for that. But after, I would say about a year or two into working out, her osteoporosis went away. She was no longer getting injured because she was getting little micro injuries in the bones because of how long she went without exercise activity. So what's wild is from exercise activity alone, you increase longevity just from bone density, because one of the things that can slow you down as you get older is injury, right? And that's brittle bones, right? That can be from lifestyle, from not exercising and being sedentary. That could be from alcohol consumption. That's another thing, and smoking as well, right? So those are the things that I was like really amazed about. And then also cognitive benefits as well, like neuroplasticity, as far as strengthening the neurological pathways in your brain from exercise has been proven that it actually increases your memory retention. Just from exercise alone, right?
Yeah.
Any form of exercise, whether it's, resistance training or endurance activity. So there's a lot of benefits outside of just what you see aesthetically. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. In regards to nutrition, I know you've mentioned that we need carbs, and people have a very interesting relationship with
awesome.
carbs.
You watched one of my videos on that. Yeah, I like that.
So what would you say to the audience here about carbs? Because I imagine most people are like, I should cut as many as possible to shred, to cut fat as quickly as possible. And when you hear something like that, what do you think? What's your suggestion there?
So it's interesting because there's two sides to this, right? Because it's deep, and I'll kind of go into it a little bit. I think that if your goal is to have long-term metabolic health, which means you can keep fat off of your body forever, then carbs are important if you are doing resistance training and you're not overweight. Yeah. Okay. There's certain people that have what's called insulin resistance. Okay. You have insulin resistance when you've chronically consumed carbohydrates without exercise for an extended period of time, which leads to type 2 diabetes.
Which is a large part of the population because of our diet.
Yeah. Over 70% of the population is overweight. So that being said, a lot of those people in that population would actually benefit from reducing carbs in the short term while losing weight, increasing their body's ability to utilize carbohydrates, and then reintroduce it as they get into a healthier body weight range, because it is important for cognitive function and exercise performance as well. Now, people like you and I, let's say, that are in a healthy body weight range and also have lower body fat percentages, you definitely don't suffer from type 2 diabetes, neither do I, it is important to have carbohydrates in your diet because it does influence your body's ability to gain muscle. And ultimately, the more muscle you have on your body, predictably so, not only the longer you'll live, but also the more body fat you'll be able to keep off and burn long term.
So what type of carbs are we talking about? Like in your mind, when you say carbs, what are you thinking about? And then how does that build the muscle? Yeah.
So I always look at, whole food ingredients, right? Like nutrient dense foods, complex carbohydrates, some simple sugars as well. I think that fruit is great, especially in the morning or around a workout. Fruit that's high in fiber, berries, kiwis, grapefruit, oranges, apples, things like that. Bananas, even around a workout as well. And then I also, for complex carbohydrates, which are slower burning carbohydrates, but that your body can readily use as well. I like white rice. It's very easily digested,
One of my faves.
more than brown rice.
Okay.
Because brown rice actually binds with other nutrients and makes the nutrients less digestible because of the husk. So I don't like brown rice much. I don't prescribe that to my clients. I like sweet potatoes for the nutrient density of them, high in potassium as well. And then red potatoes are also a great complex carbohydrate source. And then, oatmeal is hit or miss. Some people don't digest it well. So that's not something that I don't consume oatmeal at all. Typical bodybuilders would, maybe disagree, but I found many people don't digest it well. So those are my three favorites are white rice, red potatoes, and sweet potatoes.
Okay.
Yep.
If you were to choose your perfect meal to have, and maybe you do this every day, what would that consist of?
Perfect meal would be a lean protein source, white rice, and a healthy fat and vegetables. So for like my lean protein, I really like shrimp. I've been enjoying the taste of shrimp. It's very lean. You have some other vitamins and minerals in it that you can get from fish.
What about the cholesterol in shrimp?
Zero cholesterol. Yeah, and cholesterol, dietary cholesterol is much different than actual cholesterol in the body, because dietary cholesterol from let's say eggs actually helps you to produce testosterone. So dietary cholesterol is actually important. It is important that we get some of that in. However, I do like a lean protein just because it's easily digested. Ground turkey, 99.1 ground turkey or shrimp. Chicken I can't eat anymore because I'm burnt out on that, but I'll do. I literally cannot eat chicken right now.
I'm not there yet.
So when you get there, you'll know what I'm talking about. I like white rice personally for myself because it's easily digested. I'll do like 7 ounces of a lean protein. I'll do a cup of white rice, right, which is 50 grams of carbohydrates. I'll do for my healthy fat, I actually like to do either, or my fat source, I should say. I either like to do grass-fed butter. I'll do a tablespoon of that, which is 15 grams of fat, or I'll do half of an avocado, which is also 15 grams of fat. So I'll do one of those. And then I really like to do raw carrots. Raw carrots are really high in carotene, great for your skin, great for your eyes, high in vitamin C and fiber as well.
Boom.
So
love that, dude. This is great. What would you say is one of your favorite energy producing habits outside of fitness that helps you show up both to the gym and to the work that you do?
Sleep. Yeah. Number one, right?
Yeah, that's dude, that's the number one hack right there.
A lot of people try to circumvent sleep, and I think I have as well. Like as an entrepreneur, I'm like, okay, I'm growing my business. If I can cut my sleep down by 2 hours a day, what ends up happening is your productivity decreases, right? Your motivation
especially
goes
over
down.
Time,
yeah, your mood levels switch, right? Your motivation for the gym goes down. So it's like really audit your sleep habits. And I think it's important to, one thing that I've noticed, my energy does increase when I am going to sleep closer to when the sun is setting, like right afterwards, right? Like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Or if you can, I can't sleep that early. Right. 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then you're waking up, earlier in the morning as the sun is rising, right? 5:30, something like that. That's always what I found to be advantageous for me in regards to my energy cycles. Yeah. Also as well, another big one for circadian rhythm, which is energy cycles, is getting out in the sun.
Yes.
I think that's really important. I actually probably am a little bit sunburned right now. I was out in the sun yesterday running some hill sprints. And that's what I found to really be helpful with getting deeper rest, because you're able to produce more melatonin in your sleep from getting out in the sun during the day.
Have you heard the podcast with Dr. Jack Cruz, Andrew Huberman, and Rick Rubin?
Mm-mm.
So Dr. Jack Cruz is like 30 years scientist who talks all about sunlight.
Okay.
And like goes super deep, like knows more about sun than Andrew Huberman.
Okay.
And
is it a newer podcast?
It's within the last 6 months.
Yeah,
you'll love it.
Yeah.
But it fits perfectly what you're saying. Like all of the hormones that get shifted with the sun, the
massive
metabolism, your mitochondria, like everything, we need sun. Yeah. And grounding on the earth, like all that kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah, that's something I've actually started doing more of recently as well. And I have found some benefits to it. Like I do feel more, I would say I feel more relaxed when I'm doing something like that, right? Because you're completely away from, typically you shouldn't be on your phone if you're grounding, right? Putting your feet in the earth. But that's something I found to be helpful as well. Anyways.
Well, in the junk light too, everywhere we go, it's like,
Right.
spats.
Even what we have in here today,
Right.
which is fine. We're doing it for the,
Exactly. We're getting the
podcast.
sun out, right?
You can't do warm lights for the podcast.
Yeah,
But I saw something about that recently as well, as like LED light bulbs versus warm lights, and how much that actually impacts like restful sleep energy cycles.
It's wild,
so the
man.
more often like this bright white light in here, it is keeping us awake, and because that's how our bodies recognize it. But because it's so artificial, it does have an effect on our circadian rhythms.
Right.
Anyways, that's it.
Yeah.
We can go deep on that topic, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So sleep, that's good. Do you do any sort of meditation or any journaling?
You know, reading for me is,
Okay.
I think, my meditation.
Yeah.
That's, I'll spend 20 minutes a day, reading most of the days, depending on my schedule. But that's my time that I find to be where I can be very present and, helps me to like set the energy for the day.
Okay. I was looking at, I heard this stat and I'll bring it up, and because there's some other ones that I noticed on your Instagram. You said 1% of the people can only bench more than 225 pounds.
Yeah. Yep.
Only 5% have visible abs.
Yep.
And less than 15% can do one pull-up.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah. This is just a lot of people are not in good shape. I made a video yesterday too. I don't know if you saw it, but I was like, it's easier than ever to have a competitive advantage in the current world we live in. And this is not to put anybody down, but if you're a high performer, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're somebody who wants to be a leader, it is easier than ever to be in that space and actually walk the walk, because so many people are not doing it, right? Because there's so many distractions. It's easier than ever to not delay gratification because everything is at our fingertips. So that statistic is very real, just because people, are avoiding discomfort.
Yeah. Where do you search out your information on leading edge, like fitness related materials?
I do like Andrew Huberman's podcast.
Yeah.
It's interesting, right? Because like my base of knowledge comes from, I have NASM personal training certification, which is, it's very thorough. Like it is not an easy test to take. It took me 2 tries, transparently, because it's a lot of medical terminology as well. So a lot of the base of my knowledge comes from NASM. And then I also have an ISSA sports nutrition certification, where I got even a better base of knowledge around, nutrition. After that, there was a podcast that I really enjoyed listening to, and I do listen to it still, just not as much. It's called Mind Pump Radio. That podcast, it has some incredible information for all levels of fitness. So that was kind of the base of my knowledge. I listened to them for probably 4 years when I first started in the fitness industry. And then now I've been following other people who are on the cutting edge of, biohacking and things like that. Because those are the areas that I feel like are, really pushing, the potential and possibilities of what we could be doing, outside of the gym, right?
Yeah.
Like grounding, like getting out in the sun, right? Like avoiding a lot of things that could be detrimental in our environment, like microplastics and things like that. So that's where I'm kind of like heading is, and there's quite a few people in that space that I look to for that knowledge. Yeah.
Who's one of your top people there?
You know what's interesting? One of my best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my best friends, his name is Vance Elrod.
Okay.
He is a professional MMA fighter. He also started a company most recently called Meraki Medicinal.
Okay.
And he came out with a product called Meraki Blue that uses methylene blue, which is a synthetic supplement that was originally created to cure malaria, I believe. And then now it's being used as a nootropic. So long story long, he has an incredible base of knowledge of like, holistic methods and also like biohacking things that he does. So I'll actually just pick his brain. Or again, like Andrew Huberman is one I look at too.
Yeah. What would you say is like, what do you do differently than, let's say, a lot of the other people in the fitness industry, whether maybe it's you incorporate spiritual practices into working with your clients, or you learn something in another industry that you bring into the fitness space? What do you do there?
I truly believe in, not just like a bodybuilding diet and just like working out until like you can't work out. Most people need that motivation because not enough people have the ambition to get there. So that's an easy win for me. But how I like to push my clients to separate themselves, and also how I separate myself as a coach, is I also look at the habits, right? Like, how much time are you spending on your phone before you go to bed or when you wake up in the morning? You know, are you doing the things to set yourself up for success in regards to how you feel, right? Because more importantly than what we look like is how we feel on a daily basis. So I always tell my clients that I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I work with people who are leaders in their field. And I always tell them, and this is something I've realized myself, like, money is not, like, for me, the most important thing. Like, making money, of course, is important, and that's how we drive a lot of the things in our world. But more importantly, I care about how I feel, and I care about how my clients feel. So how much caffeine are you consuming on a daily basis, right? That tremendously affects your energy levels if you're over consuming it, because now you're using it as a crutch, right? What does your, morning habits look like? What does your nighttime habits look like, right? What is your, being present in the day look like, right? So I'll tell some of my clients, hey, if you're working from home on a computer, I need you right after you eat to go outside and go for a walk without your phone and be present. It's going to help increase your digestion of your food. It's going to reduce your blood sugar response, and you're going to be able to be sharper now when you go back into work. So I look at my client's schedule as a whole, and I'll look at their habits as a whole. Like, are you watching TV for an hour right before you go to sleep every single night? That's probably affecting your sleep habits, right? So that's just something I look at.
Yeah, that's cool. I find too that, like, with the leaders that I work with, a lot of the problems that they want me to help solve in the business don't start in the business.
It's interesting, right? I heard that from somebody else recently as well. Like, we don't look at exactly like the statistics in the business. We look at the leaders and maybe what they're doing, or their employees and how they're showing up on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Usually relationships are like a huge source of conflict or like just inner turmoil that then manifests itself in making poor decisions and professional side, right? Like,
interesting.
Yeah. And so for me, the reason why I asked that question is because I find once you get to a certain level of mastery in one area, let's call it fitness for you, you naturally, at least if you want to keep growing and you're growth minded, look for other like strategies in other areas and almost innovate to go deeper, to find the levels within the levels.
I like that. Yeah.
And every new level has a new devil. And like, for someone like you, you're self-motivated. You want to say, like, how can I make this better? How can I outdo what I just did? Right.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
It's almost like, yes, you can go deeper with what you already know. There's always room there, but then also let's sprinkle in something more exciting that I don't know if it's going to work, but let's see.
Yeah. I love that.
And then it's like birth of a new philosophy.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I think, like, that's so great to look at the next level of how you can push yourself, but and then tying it back into, it's so important to remember how important the fundamentals are as well, 100%. Right? In every area, like in a business, if we start getting lackadaisical on how we originally did X, Y, and Z because we're focused on, this expert level thing, then the expert level thing means nothing, right? So we need to focus on fundamentals always. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. There's the Bruce Lee quote that says, understand the form so that you could become formless.
I like it.
And what I take that as is, like, so many people in my mind think, like, I have to have my day go like da 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 da, but almost never does your day go like that. Right. And so if we're so married to our day having to go a certain way, and then within the first 30 minutes it doesn't, then that kind of throws us off, forever. So there's a point to where you get a certain level of a foundation, but then also not be married to that foundation, knowing that life's going to just adapt.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I need to go through my 30-step morning routine in order to have a good day. It's like, no, sometimes you just got to get up and you got to go.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I think the morning routine is an anchor, but not something you should be married to, because there's days and times and maybe weeks that you have to do something different.
Yeah. And so working with a lot of your higher profile clients that are entrepreneurs, business minds, what have you noticed like pattern wise? What are some common traits that they seem to all possess that is interesting to you?
Extremes in behavior, right? So I believe a lot of people that have the drive and passion to do something have, like, for lack of a better word, like manic actions, which are great. Like, we need people like that. That's how things get done quickly, right? Not by people that are slow moving, right? But those same people also have extreme actions in regards to other things. Like, maybe they like to party, or maybe they will binge food, or they'll go and do this. So that's what I've found with a lot of these people is, as much as they put extremes into their business, they've also gone extreme maybe in other areas like what they eat. You know, they feel like their only outlet has been to be able to eat food that they want because they're rewarding themselves because they're doing so well in work, but then they end up feeling like crap. That's a consistent thing I've seen. Or, you know, they'll go out and get crazy and party and things, but then they end up, you know, setting themselves back like 2 or 3 days. So I always try to connect the people that I work with to not only like looks. Looks are important, right? How much money you have in your bank. Yes, it's very important, right? Your business, the business scoreboard is predicated off how much your business is making. But what's more important is how you feel. And I believe that as well. I practice what I preach every day. I eat healthy, not only because I want to look good. I'm a walking billboard, of course, for my business, but I also want to feel great. I want to be present when I'm in conversation. I want to be able to have energy for everybody I speak to. And I don't want to have, you know, headache, acid reflux, bloating, poor sleep, and all that's predicated on my lifestyle habits. So that's why I continue to pick good habits, because I want to be my best. And I think that you can have great health, you can have a great lifestyle and have fun and run a business at the same time. It is possible. I
believe that too. Thank you for being a voice for that.
Yeah, of course.
With the extremes that you notice within your patients with your clients, like what are you suggesting they do aside, like with the fitness or maybe even outside of fitness, to help regulate some of that? Or how are you helping them channel that in a more effective way?
So no matter how you spin it, you know, discipline is going to be a part of this, right? Because there has to be an intention behind what you're doing. So connecting first to the purpose of, you know, the outcome, which, and then reverse engineering the actions from there, right? So ultimately, okay, you're not confident in your current body composition because you have too much body fat on your body. You're tired every single day and you're over caffeinating yourself. So it's going to take reducing your caffeine intake. It's going to take reducing the amount of times you're eating out a week, but the outcome of that is going to be better energy, higher production in work, better satisfaction in your daily life, and more confidence as well. So I always anchor them into the purpose and the outcome. And why do we want to do this? Well, because I'm tired of feeling like crap, right? And I'm 30, not me, but this is a client. The client's 34 years old and they're 30% body fat and they've started to have some pain in their knees. Like, cool, man, this is how you want to feel at 40 years old? Keep doing it, right? So those are some things that I look at. I always anchor yourself into the purpose, anchor yourself into the outcome, and then it gets much easier to put the daily actions in place. But I think just simply reducing the frequency in which you're indulging can help tremendously, right?
100%. It's impulse control,
right? And then also reducing, because a lot of people are just looking for the easy way out, because they're going, well, this food makes me happy, this alcohol makes me happy, watching this movie makes me happy, but the more that you do that, the less happy it makes you.
Do you think it's happiness or do you think it's numbing?
I think it's both. Well, it's ultimately, right? Because if you're numbing, it's because you're not happy. Right. But have you ever thought maybe the
not
thing
being
that
happy is kind of more closer to happy?
It's a cyclical process. So no matter how you spin it, the discipline is really what creates true happiness, right? And I literally talked about this yesterday. I made a video that if you're obsessed with being happy instead of obsessed with the process of what's going to make you happy, you're not going to be happy. So you have to start getting obsessed with the process and know that the actions you're doing are what are actually creating true happiness through feeling great on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Something that I remind myself all the time is I think purpose is much more important than happiness, because happiness is only really for the moment. Right, it's very fleeting. Purpose is something that's...
You can't be happy constantly.
No, and you wouldn't want to.
Right, because then it defeats the purpose of being happy.
Yes, not only that, but then there's times in your life where you're not going to be just because of the situation. Like you're not going to be happy for someone that you lose in your family.
Right.
Or there's times life embedded into life are lessons, and with those lessons come specific emotions. Right, happiness is definitely an important one, but not one that everyone should seek to have all the time, because then you're going to choose pleasure. Over discomfort.
You got it.
Right?
Exactly.
But then also purpose is steadfast and purpose is deeper. Purpose says I'm still going to do the work even though it's uncomfortable, even though there's pain, even though there's uncertainty, because it's bigger than me.
Yeah, right. 100%.
That's the only thing that keeps you consistent.
Yeah, and there's going to be days when you don't feel like waking up. There's going to be days when you don't feel like doing the work.
Yes.
But I think when people can get more engaged with the idea that those actions are what actually bring real happiness, the work gets easier to do. And I found that point in my life right now.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And then fulfillment is like the interplay, I think, between the purpose and the happiness. It's like, I love that I'm making progress towards something like an ideal.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I'm growing. And I'm also appreciating the work that I'm doing and the progress that I'm making, which produces the form of happiness.
Right,
like, if you could look at it from that way and understand that process is never going to end.
No, it doesn't. Right?
It doesn't.
Which is great. Yeah.
But people like live in one moment for a large part of their life. They're trapped by a story or some traumatic experience that they can't seem to hold on, like let go of. And that comes with a whole other set of emotions and chemical addictions inside the body that manifest in a lot of different areas.
Yep.
But purpose is like, I find the thing that like is the catalyst.
The driver.
Yeah. And it goes to intention too.
Yeah.
I'm going to work out today because not just I want to look better.
Right.
But I want to feel better.
Yeah.
And I'll be healthier.
When I'm not motivated, the thing that pushes me is this workout I know is going to give me more energy tomorrow.
Yes.
Legitimately, that's what I tell myself. I'm like, all right, every single row I do on this row machine, even though it's hard, it's arduous, my legs are sore. I know that every rep, I'm going to have more energy tomorrow. So I'm basically paying my dues for the next day.
You're reminding me of something of all the like the high achievers that that's all, I'll put a title on you momentarily.
Yeah,
like you're someone who's driven. Like I find that if they're, when compared to like looking at the past, looking at the future, or remaining present, ambitious individuals, goal-oriented people are more so in the future than in the present. Very few can get to solely present. Maybe they toggle back between present and future, but future because they're wanting to create something that is either deeper, bigger, better, faster, you name it, good or bad, just what it is. And then people who aren't as high performing tend to focus more on the past. What they didn't do, what they could have done.
Right. Yes, I agree.
All of that.
I agree. Yeah.
So a lot of your talk to get you to take action in the moment is future based in a reality that you want to have.
Right. Yeah.
And then you're transplanting that future reality back into this moment to drive emotion to do something.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like two ways to do that. Like you can live in a painful reality of the future that can drive energy now, or you can live in a, I want that, get that to do this now, you know? Like,
I think I have a healthy balance of both.
Yeah.
I just don't
I think you have to.
I don't talk about it as much, but a little bit of that is fear driven too, which is, I think something that a lot of people that are high achievers have, like they have this unrealistic like fear that it's not going to work out or something.
Right.
And that's like the constant drive, right?
100%. That's beautiful. What would you say, let's shift to some exercises like actually at the gym that you feel most people would benefit from.
Okay.
So let's start with this question here. What exercise are people getting wrong? Like doing wrong?
What
Like,
exercise?
is it a squat? Is it a bench? Is it like, what are they not thinking about when doing the exercise, thinking they're doing a good job, but actually like,
I just made a video about this 2 days ago because it's very, very common is a lot of people don't do bench press or any really like chest press properly. And that's why the rates of shoulder injuries are so high. It's because of poor mechanics during their movement patterns. So a lot of people will do a bench press or a chest press as heavy as they can with poor form, and then they end up injuring their shoulders. This is because their elbows are too flared out. So if you start a movement like a chest press or a bench press and your elbows are basically 90 degrees, like you're this position right here with your bicep and your rib cage is 90 degrees, you're in a bad position.
Which is kind of what they teach in high school, gym, and like all that stuff, right?
You'll read that in books too, which is incredibly strange to me because it puts a lot of stress on the shoulder joint. So what I'll have my clients do, or I'll give cues, is you want to bring your elbows in to about 45 degrees. This 45 degree angles actually creates more engagement in your pecs and also reduces the amount of strain on the shoulder joint, and you're going to get a much better path in mechanics in that movement and reduce risk of injury. So that's something that I see consistently. A lot of men, of course, do wrong because they're the ones that are benching a lot.
And that's dumbbell that you're suggesting?
Dumbbells or even bench too. So on bench, even though you have a grip that's here that's just static, you can bring your elbows in.
Okay.
You can still twist your elbows and you're going to get more engagement and you're going to reduce risk of injury. So I definitely don't bench press as much as I do dumbbell press because I feel it's more comfortable for my shoulders.
Yeah. And there seems to be more control with the dumbbell too.
More control. Yeah. The bench press is just very static and it's okay to do bench press, but I just, I don't really go too heavy when I work out because I focus on form and really controlling the weight versus just trying to look like I'm lifting heavy weights.
That's good.
Yeah.
And what would you say for women?
Squats. Yeah, I would say for females and men as well, but a lot of People will do barbell squats incorrectly, which lead to back injury, which lead to knee injury, and then also just not building the muscles that are working that movement properly. So the squat is one of the most fundamental and I think one of the best movements that you could do in the gym, as long as you have a healthy body to do it. When you're doing a squat, you're engaging your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, your core, your back. Like, it's such a great compound movement. So a lot of people you'll see when they do a squats, they'll start the movement in their knees. The movement, it doesn't start in the knees, the movement starts in the hips. So when you're doing a squat, the first thing you want to do is you want to push your hips back. As you push your hips back, now you're in a perfect position to start bending your knees and getting yourself into all the way down into the bottom of the squat. I see a lot of people, like, there's a common misconception that you should do ass to grass. Now, here's the caveat. If you have the mobility in your ankles and your hips, it's okay to go all the way down and all the way back up. But majority of people don't have great mobility in their hips or their ankles or the knees. They go to do into this low squat and they feel like they're not doing it right, and they end up injuring their back. So it's best to go down to where you have where your natural range of movement is. And the way you can test this is you stand up straight, lift one knee up as high as you can. That is exactly where you should stop. Or if you're looking at yourself doing a squat, as soon as your hips start to rotate and your glutes start to rotate underneath your body, that's going to be the position that you should stop in so you don't injure yourself.
Is that the butt wink?
The butt wink. Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. That's
so
where I say, okay, only go to that point.
Yeah.
Initially.
Go. Yeah.
Until you build.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Unless you have the hip mobility. Like,
Yeah.
if you feel like you have the mobility and you're not straining yourself, because that's when you're going to injure yourself. So a lot of people either they just don't engage properly, and they're not using their glutes, they're not using their quads and hamstrings, and they end up just, just doing an improper movement. The goal is to be as efficient as possible when you're in the gym.
How long are your workouts?
For me personally, my resistance training I do for 50 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Anything over that I think is a little bit redundant. You should be crushing your workout. Like, if you're in the gym for 2 hours doing resistance training, you're just not efficient with your movements. And I just don't want to be in the gym that long.
Right.
And then I'll do 20 to 30 minutes of cardio, steady state cardio. I'll
Every
either
day?
do that every day. So I'll either do that post workout or I'll do that as a separate session outside. So
Okay.
I like to get outside depending. I mean, it doesn't even matter what the weather is, but in July, a little bit tougher to get outside, at 2 p.m. But I try to get outside as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as core goes, what would you say? Like, I've one of my really good friends is like, core should be in every exercise that you do, not just an isolated 15 minutes where you're doing nothing but core exercises. What are your thoughts on just
I think
core?
both. I don't think core should be in every single movement you do. I do think that you do build core muscles and core strength by doing certain exercises, but I also think it's important, and it depends, right? Like, you look at a bicep, right? You are working your bicep muscle every time you do a pull-up, but are you isolating the bicep?
No.
Okay, that's fine. If the goal is to build bigger biceps, well, I want to isolate the biceps.
Right.
So the abs are just like any other muscle. You can build your abs. You can build bigger abs. So if the goal is to have bigger abs and to have more predominant abs, you should be doing isolated core movements, right? But yes, there is movements that you're doing that are also working your core at the same time. So I think it's good to do a combination of both.
Okay. And what would you say is your favorite core exercise?
My favorite
Specifically core.
Favorite core exercise?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough one. I wish we could do like a top three.
Okay, let's do a top three.
Okay, perfect. All right. So low plank, just because anybody can do it. And it's fundamental for core stabilization. Or your
low plank is on your
low plank on the forearm, or I should say
arms.
Transverse abdominal wall. So your ability to basically hold your back and core in one position like this, which strengthens barbell squat movements as well. And then I really like farmer carries, like dumbbell farmer carries or kettlebell farmer carries. They're phenomenal as a functional movement.
And for those that don't know what that is, can you?
So you would take two heavy dumbbells or two heavy kettlebells, and you would walk approximately like 50 yards at a time. It's great for your grip strength. It's great. It also builds a little bit of like traps, and then you're getting a ton of core stabilization as well. And then for a rotational core movement, I really like cable wood choppers. because you're getting the functionality of being able to rotate under tension, but you're also strengthening and building your obliques as well, which is the side of the core muscles. So those are my 3 favorites.
Those are cool.
Yeah.
The farmer carries, will you ever use one side?
I love the single arm farmer carries as well. Yeah, suitcase carry.
Yep.
That's definitely a progression from from the farmer carries, but I love the suitcase carries. Those are even more difficult, I would say, than the farmer carries as well.
Cool.
So, yeah.
How long can you hold the plank?
I could probably do it like over 3 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I did that, but I could probably do over 3 minutes.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
What is something that you've always wanted to talk about on the podcast, but never have had the space to?
One more time.
What's a concept that you would have loved to talk on any other podcast, but you haven't had the opportunity to do so?
Great question. That's pretty deep.
Take your time.
You know what? I would say and only because I'm talking about things I know about.
Yeah.
I would say the mindset and the moment that I did the amateur boxing match.
Let's talk about it.
I just think it was such a transformational time in my life. If you want, I can
Let's
get
go,
in.
bro.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
So, you were excited, I think, to hear about this as well. So I'll just tell the story really quick.
Okay.
Basically, I put myself into an amateur boxing match on 8 days' notice with not much training, fighting a 10-time MMA champion.
Oh, jeez.
In front of all of my friends and family on Fremont Street, probably 200 people. As well as a lot of like Vegas industry, nightlife and business owners. So the amount of nerves I have going into that was extremely high. But how I felt after, I don't think I've ever had another feeling come close to how I felt leaving that ring and that venue. Have you ever done an amateur boxing match?
No.
Okay.
I've sparred, but not nowhere. No.
Yeah. So it's not even close to sparring because I've sparred too.
Yeah.
What's interesting is I didn't even spar in a ring until after I did that boxing match. That
So
boxing
you
match
threw yourself to the wolves
was
there,
my
bro.
first sparring session. So you could understand because you've sparred now.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine sparring live in front of all your friends and family, an MMA champion. Like it was such a crazy experience. So real quick, I got the call. One of my friends, she ran this charity event that was called the Kapow Boxing. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. So it was industry boxing matches. They don't do them anymore.
No.
This was in 2018, October. And and she was a part of it, and it was benefiting Cancer Train, which is a nonprofit organization that was helping kids with cancer. So all the proceeds of the ticket sales would go to this organization, which I thought was cool as well, right? Like I've always been into, giving back and things like that. So she had told me about the event, like in passing, not because she wanted me to do it. She's like, and then at the time, I just started getting into boxing for cardio. I was using it to get leaner.
Yeah.
20 minutes a day, a couple days a week, and it was working. And she goes, hey, so I saw you been getting into boxing. One of the fighters dropped out of the fight, dropped out of one of the matches, and we need a replacement. She goes, would you be down? I was like, man, I don't know. I was like, it's like in like 10 days. It was like 12 days or something like that. I was like, I don't know. I was like, that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
I haven't even been training for it. And this guy's, an MMA champion. And then I don't know. I talked to one of my friends about it, and I was like, you know what? Let's do it. I like to put myself always in challenging positions because it makes me level up.
Yes.
In every area in business. Like this is something that I'm choosing purposely to make myself uncomfortable. And I knew that by doing it, I would become better because of it. And I would potentially inspire other people. Now I can tell it as a story, which is even better, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we decided on a cruiserweight at the time of the fight. At the time that I decided to fight, I was 200 pounds and the guy was 185. So I had to get down I had to drop 7 or 8 pounds because we decided I could be at like 193 or something like that in 8 days as well. So I stopped eating carbohydrates because that's an easy way to lose water weight quickly. And I took a hot bath every night because that's also how you lose water weight quickly. So I was like a fighter, like getting ready like on an 8-day notice. And I started just hitting mitts with one of my friends, like outside of in the front of his house because I didn't have anywhere to train at the time. So I'm like, one of my friends, my good friend Vance, that is an MMA fighter, I was like, yo, hold mitts for me. So I just go to his house like 3 days before the fight and just held mitts. I'm like, all right, bro, this is what he's like, listen, we can't.
Like Rocky, bro.
Yeah, he's like, listen, we can't learn everything. He's like, this is what you want to do. He's like, you want to hit him and then just move. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. I had done some street fighting when I was younger, but boxing is completely different. It's very technical. It's very, it takes a lot of, so I had the heart, but the skill, of course, wasn't there yet. So we get to the day of the fight. My nerves were all over the place. I was anxious, but I was, of course, on the outside. I looked tough, right? And at no point I felt like pulling out. Of course, I was like, I'm here. I already committed to it. I'm a stand-in, So we get there and we're walking up to the ring, and I have my friend also cornering me. He's my corner man. So it was actually my friend Vance and also my friend Andrew, who was an amateur boxer as well, and they were cornering me. And we get up to the ring. I turn around. I'm like, hey man, how do I get in this ring? Because I didn't even know how to open the ropes. Like I didn't know. He's like, dude, just open the ropes. I'm like, all right. So I open the ropes. So I get in the ring and I stand in there, and then I look around and I see my mom. I see, some of my best friends. I see some of my clients. I see all these people, and they're like, go Michael. And I'm just looking around like, what did I get myself into? Like I'm literally about to fight in front of all these people. And like, I really didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, you know what, like I'll give it my best effort. Of course I know how to fight a little bit. And then the other guy, he's like, before the fight, he was like running laps around the building, like warming up. And I'm like, Jesus, this guy's insane, know? So he comes out, we both have headgear on. We look at each other and I realize, I'm like, man, it's like, I don't have any adrenaline right now. Like I realized I didn't have an adrenaline rush, and I was waiting for that because I know that's going to help, like, so it's not as painful. Yeah. And so I started to make myself angry. So I looked at him and I just pictured him like, punching like my sister in the face or something. I pictured like the worst things possible. And I was like, okay, cool. And now it was like, it was engaged. They said go. And then, we did 3 rounds and went back and forth. I was a little sloppy with my technique, but I hit him enough times that they had to stop the fight in the second round to wipe blood from his face. Okay. I got knocked down only because I slipped, but went to the 3rd round and judge's decision, he won. Yeah. So I lost. Right. But I walked away from it like knowing that I just did something that was so uncomfortable that like not many people, I don't even know the percentage of people will ever experience in their whole entire life. Yeah. And let alone choose. Yeah. Let alone choose to do. Right. And like you just walk out of there like so calm. Like the amount of calmness you have after being in like a fight like that is it's a different feeling. And then not only that, him and I became good friends after that. And we followed each other on Instagram and like talked to each other. Sometimes he'll comment on, and he was like, dude, you hit so hard. It was just funny. You know what I mean? Like we had banter and stuff like that, but during the fight we hated each other. And I think that's really cool about fighting too, is you become friends with the person after. Anyways, that's the story of that. It was just such a great moment. I think the moral of the story is don't be afraid to put yourself in challenging positions on purpose because it's going to help you level up.
I love that, man. Thank you for sharing that. And I wish, I was at What Republic in 2013, 14.
You were working there?
I was working there.
Okay, yeah.
And that's before I became what I'm doing now. Yeah. And there was a guy named, I think his name was Blaze, or I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he was in that as well. He did a fight there.
Yeah, dude. It was gnarly. Like some of the fights were just gnarly. These guys were, I was swinging too. Me and my opponent, I got hit a lot. He got hit a lot. But after that, I started training boxing, and I've been training for 5 years now.
Yeah, I saw some of your videos. You got some good form.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. Yeah, I got to see. I want to check out you and kind of what you got going on.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But it's fun, man. I just enjoy it. It's fun. I want to do another fight actually eventually, but we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah.
So last couple questions.
Go ahead.
What's next for you in the next couple of years? What are you looking forward to?
So I am currently building my online coaching business, and I'm working with people all across the United States now. So that's been something I've been doing for the last year. Was on a couple big podcasts earlier this year as well that really helped to push my brand. So really just growing my brand, helping more people over the next 2 years is my goal. Working with as many people as I can. So what's been awesome is, you know, being a personal trainer. I was a personal trainer for, you know, 8 years, now transitioning into doing primarily online training. I've used all the skills that I've developed there, and now I've been able to get in a space that I can work with more people. And that's what I'm really excited to do. That's what I'm currently building. And just double down on that and then see where it goes. I could definitely see myself getting into also like a leadership position. I would love to coach entrepreneurs in the future as well, as far as like building a business, because I do have also a passion for like entrepreneurship and things like that. So
that's beautiful, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, your heart, your work.
Appreciate it, brother.
Been an amazing conversation. What can we leave them with? Anything that's coming through?
Leave them with as far as
info, but like any last minute messages that you want.
Yeah, I think discipline is so important in our day-to-day lives. And the more disciplined you can be, the happier you're going to be. The more that you avoid discipline, the more that you avoid discomfort, the less happy that you're going to be. So lean into the discomfort, lean into the hard work, and that's what's really going to give you fulfillment and happiness, and also allow you to have a bigger impact on the people around you. Yeah.
Beautiful. And best place to reach you is Instagram?
Instagram is where I'm doing a lot of coaching and where a lot of people are reaching out to me. So Michael Sheedy Fitness is the Instagram. Reach out to me there. Give me a follow. I try to post as much valuable content as I can.
Yeah. Dope, brother. Well, I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.